An old man with shaking, ink-stained fingers sits on a jagged volcanic shelf in the middle of the Aegean Sea. The wind coming off the water is biting. His skin is leathered, dark, and deeply creased from decades under the Mediterranean sun. He is a prisoner, sentenced to break rocks on this desolate island because he refused to call a Roman emperor his god. He is completely alone. Then, without warning, the sky splits open. A light brighter than the midday sun floods the rocky coast. A voice like the crashing of massive ocean waterfalls echoes across the cliffs. The old man does not stand up to fight. He does not wave his arms in triumph. Instead, he drops directly into the gravel, his body collapsing like a corpse. He is frozen. His heart hammers against his ribs. His knees lock. He cannot breathe. We will get back to this old man on his volcanic rock. We will see exactly whose voice made his soul leave his body. But not yet. If you have spent any time on social media, or if you have ever flipped through a Christian motivational book, you have probably heard a specific statistic. Someone will look you in the eye and tell you that the phrase, "fear not," appears exactly 365 times in the pages of the Bible. They will smile warmly and tell you that God left one specific promise of safety for every single day of your calendar year. It looks wonderful on a coffee mug. It makes for a perfect viral video caption. There is only one problem with this statement. It is completely historically wrong. If you open up a concordance and manually count every single time a prophet, an angel, or the creator of the universe says, "Fear not," or "Do not be afraid," you will find that the number does not even come close to 365. In the classic King James Version, the precise two-word command appears just 71 times. Even if you stretch the parameters to include every variation across 5 different modern translations, you will barely scrape past 150. The 365 tradition is a modern internet myth, but the fact that this viral statistic is a myth is not bad news. When you look at what the text actually says, the truth is better than the slogan. This is not a story about a motivational slogan or a modern self-help technique to lower your stress. This is not a cosmic greeting card sent from a distant, comfortable heaven. This is a story about what happens when the sovereign of reality climbs into the dirt, leans down to a terrified human being, and speaks 2 words into the worst moment of their life. To understand why the actual words of Scripture are so much more powerful than an internet meme, you have to look at the very first time these words are spoken to a specific person in human history. You have to travel back nearly 4,000 years to a landscape of cold desert sand and dying campfires. A man named Abram is sitting in his tent in the deep middle of the night. He is an old patriarch, and by all worldly metrics, he is successful. He has just won a massive military victory against a coalition of 4 powerful Eastern kings. He has rescued his family, secured his wealth, and established his reputation. But the adrenaline of the battle wears off, the silence of the desert settles in, and the mind starts to build a prison. Abram is wide awake, staring into the dark, paralyzed by dread. He knows those defeated kings have armies. He knows revenge is a powerful motivator in the ancient world. He realizes he is an old, childless immigrant living in a tent surrounded by hostile nations. His wealth cannot buy him a son, and his weapons cannot guarantee tomorrow. God does not wait for Abram to clean up his thoughts or put on a brave face. In the 15th chapter of Genesis, the word of the Lord comes to Abram in a vision. The first words out of the silence are these, "Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward." Pay attention to the order of those words. God does not give Abram a 10-step strategy to defeat his enemies. He does not hand him a contract guaranteeing a long life. He offers his own physical presence. The Hebrew word used here for fear is yar. It is a dynamic word. When Abram feels it in this moment, it means his knees are knocking and his stomach is tight with panic. But yar also means to stand in breathtaking awe of something so massive, it rewires your entire perception of reality. God is telling this terrified nomad, do not let your circumstances fill your horizon. Let me fill it. If I am your shield, the arrows of those kings have to pass through me before they ever touch your skin. But the Bible does not just hand this command to powerful patriarchs in moments of destiny. It drops it into the gutters of human rejection. Just a few chapters later, in the 21st chapter of Genesis, you find a completely different character. Her name is Hagar. She is an Egyptian slave woman, used and discarded by her owners, cast out into the blistering wasteland of the Beersheba desert with nothing but a skin of water and a young boy named Ishmael. The water is gone. The sun is melting the horizon. You can feel the agony in her chest as she realizes she is powerless. She cannot fix this. She cannot dig a well with her bare hands. In her despair, Hagar cannot bear to watch her child die. She places the boy under the thin shade of a desert bush, walks a bow shot away, sits down on the hot dirt, and buries her face in her hands. She begins to wail. This is not a theoretical trial. This is physical, suffocating grief. Her fear is not yar, it is pashad, a Hebrew word that means raw, paralyzing dread, the animal panic of a trapped creature waiting for death. Hagar is convinced that the desert will swallow their names and nobody in the universe will ever care. But the text says, God heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven. Look at what the divine voice says to a dying slave woman who is not even an Israelite. What aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is. Notice that God does not speak from the clouds to tell her everything happens for a reason. He opens her eyes and suddenly, right there in the dust, there is a well of living water. He meets her in the exact coordinate of her isolation. When you look at Abram in his midnight tent and Hagar sobbing in the desert dust, you begin to see a pattern that the 365-day myth completely misses. God does not issue these commands from a safe, sterile distance. He does not whisper them to people who are practicing positive thinking or sitting in comfortable sanctuary pews. He speaks them directly into the wreckage of real human lives. Every single divine comfort in Scripture is a rescue mission wrapped in a vocabulary lesson. Now watch what happens next, because as the story of Scripture moves forward, the stakes climb. The divine command to stop shaking is no longer just about one person's family or a single mother's survival in the wilderness. It expands to encapsulate the survival of an entire civilization. You can see this weight crushing down on a young military commander named Joshua. He is standing on the muddy banks of the Jordan River, looking across the water at a landscape filled with heavily fortified cities and armies of giants. For 40 years, Joshua has been a second in command. He has lived comfortably under the towering shadow of Moses, the man who split the Red Sea, the man who spoke to God face to face, the man whose very presence commanded absolute authority. But now, Moses is dead. The staff of leadership is dropped into Joshua's hands, and 3 million wandering, exhausted people are looking at him to lead them into a war for their very existence. Joshua is fully aware of his own limitations. He knows he is not Moses. He knows his soldiers are former slaves, not trained combatants. The air is thick with imminent violence and the potential for a catastrophic national slaughter. In the first chapter of Joshua, God confronts him directly. He does not offer a detailed tactical blueprint or an advanced weaponry system. Instead, he repeats a variation of the same command 3 distinct times in 9 verses. Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. The word for dismayed here is deeply vivid. It means to be broken into pieces, to have your inner resolve shattered by what you see. God is telling this new general that his primary battle is not against the walled cities of Canaan. His primary battle is against the fracture inside his own chest. If you fast forward another 1,000 years, the stakes escalate from national survival to a cosmic disruption. The Greek phrase is phobio me, stop being put to flight. Stop treating my arrival as an execution order. This is not a moment of destruction. This is a holy, terrifying invitation to carry the architecture of salvation inside your own womb. When you move past the Gospels and look at the first generation of the global church, the command to not fear faces its most brutal crucible. The followers of this resurrected Jesus are not sitting in climate-controlled buildings debating theology. They are living under the shadow of an empire that views them as an infectious disease. The Roman historian Tacitus, in the 15th book of his Annals, records a nightmare that was an absolute reality for these early believers. He describes how the Emperor Nero blamed the Christians for the catastrophic fire of Rome in Anno Domini 64. To satisfy the crowds, Nero turned human suffering into a public circus. Tacitus writes that Christians were covered in the skins of wild beasts so they would be torn to pieces by dogs. Others were nailed to heavy wooden crosses along the public roads. And worst of all, as the sun went down over the imperial gardens, believers were tied to tall stakes, soaked in oil, and set on fire to serve as literal burning torches to illuminate the night sky for the Roman elite. Imagine being a Christian father or mother in that environment. You are hiding in a dark cellar, hearing the heavy sandals of Roman soldiers patrolling the street just a few feet above your head. You know what happened to your friends last Tuesday at the Colosseum. You know the exact smell of burning human flesh hanging over the city. Your anxiety is not a theoretical concept. It is a physical weight pressing down on your chest, making it impossible to take a deep breath. This brings us to a reality that hits every single one of us across 2,000 years of history. It is 2:45 in the morning. You are sitting upright in bed, staring at the glowing green digits of a digital alarm clock. The house is completely silent, but inside your head, a storm is raging. Your mind is playing a horror movie of worst-case scenarios on a loop. You are looking at the stack of bills you cannot pay, or you are waiting for medical test results, or you are weeping for a child who refuses to come home. In those moments, you feel completely isolated. You feel like a tiny speck of dust floating in a cold, indifferent universe, and the internet slogans about 365 daily verses feel hollow, cheap, and deeply insulting. Now, look back at that volcanic rock in the middle of the Aegean Sea. We are back on Patmos with John. He is the last surviving disciple of Jesus. Every single one of his brothers, Peter, Andrew, James, Thomas, has been brutally executed. John has been boiled in oil, survived, and has now been dumped on this penal colony to die a slow, anonymous death. He is an old man looking down at his own frail, trembling hands, wondering if the story is finally over. And then, the voice, like rushing waters, breaks the silence. John falls down like a dead man. The sheer weight of the glory of the resurrected Christ completely short-circuits his nervous system. He is frozen in a state of panic. But Christ does not stand at a distance and shout a message of encouragement. He walks over to the gravel, kneels down in the dust next to this broken old prisoner, and places his physical right hand on John's trembling shoulder. Think about that hand. It is a hand that still carries the physical scar of a Roman nail. It is a hand that holds the keys to death and the grave. With that hand pressing into John's flesh, Jesus speaks the final, absolute phobeo me of the biblical story. Fear not, I am the first and the last. I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Jesus does not look at John and say, your circumstances are going to get easier tomorrow. He says, look at my hand. I have already gone into the deepest, darkest cave of human horror. I have stood inside death itself, and I walked out the other side holding the keys. If I am the first, I was there before your anxiety ever had a name. If I am the last, I will be standing there victorious when your trials have run completely out of breath. When you look at the full sweep of history, you realize why that viral internet myth about 365 verses is so dangerous. It reduces the living God to a cosmic vending machine that dispenses a daily dose of cheap sentimentality to keep you comfortable. But Scripture does not offer comfort by changing your calendar. It offers comfort by introducing you to the ruler of eternity. As we close this look at the true anatomy of divine peace, there are three absolute truths you need to take with you into your own storms. First, the Bible does not give you a daily pill. It gives you an eternal presence. God never promised that your life would be a series of neat, highly predictable days where nothing goes wrong. He did something far more radical. He promised that when the floor drops out from underneath your life, you will discover that the foundation beneath the collapse is solid rock. Second, your anxiety is not a sign of broken faith. It is the exact location where God comes to meet you. Every single time, fear not is spoken in the biblical text. It is addressed to someone whose knees are already shaking, whose tears are already falling, and whose strategies have completely failed. God does not demand that you stop feeling afraid before He comes near. He comes near so that you can finally stop running. Third, God does not stand on a safe, comfortable shore shouting megaphone instructions into your storm. He climbs directly into the sinking boat with you. He is the God who sits with Abram in the midnight terror. He is the God who counts the tears of an abandoned slave woman in the desert. He is the God who kneels in the gravel of a prison island to put a scarred, heavy hand on an old man's shoulder. The exact count of the words does not matter when the Creator of time is holding your hand. You do not need 365 distinct verses to survive today. You only need the one who conquered tomorrow.